Recording in progress. You're going to get a little pop-up, everybody, to say that it's okay to be recorded. And if you could say yes, that would be great. And without further ado, I would like to turn this over to our queen from Tauck, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. Such a pleasure for me to be here today. And thank you so much, Dave. Sounds like he's got a great group of friends that he takes traveling. So I'm so excited to talk to you all. Do you need to show me to do something, Dave, so you can share my screen?
I have written that multiple participants can share, so you
Okay.
should be able to share your
All right.
screen.
We can see you.
And well, she's going to share her screen. Oh, look, there we go. It's coming. Jennifer has started.
go.
There we go.
Okay. Now I can just see a few of you. I work for Tauck. I don't know if any of you have been on a Tauck experience, but I'll tell you a little bit about Tauck and then a lot about this itinerary. And to me, this is one of the most incredible journeys that you can do. Some of you have already been to Africa and you know that it's transformative. We always feel at Tauck, we feel that travel is always inspirational, and certain destinations are more transformative than others. And this absolutely, truly is in so many ways. And I'll tell you how we do things that might be a little bit different if you've been before, and why you might want to go to East Africa, because you've already been to Africa. Africa is a huge continent. So we'll talk about that too. So about Tauck, we are a family-run company. We've been in business since 1925. And if you do the math, you realize we have an incredible centennial coming up next year. It's a family-run company that believes in always doing the right thing for the guest. It's always been about people before profits. If you take a look, if you were to come up to our office in Connecticut, the family name Tauck is spelled out like an acronym. T is trust and A is always do the right thing. And I think all of us that work for the company have, we feel that we're passionate about that because it's what drives us. We're a company that doesn't advertise. So if you're not familiar with us, it's probably because you can't open a Condé Nast or a Travel and Leisure magazine and see lots of ads for Tauck. We feel if we put more into the experience, then our guests will go, they'll come back and say, wow, what a great way to travel. And they'll come again. And that's exactly what's happened since 1925. We have an extremely loyal repeat factor, and our guests do. They go and they come back and then they tell their friends about it. So that's really how we've grown since 1925. And we feel that, when you travel with us, we want to take care of all the little details and make sure that you're having the best experience that you could possibly have. So we're always looking to show you the best way to travel. There's a lot of numbers they share with us when I go to visit the office. And one that always sticks in my mind every year, it's always always like 93, 97%. At the end of your trip with us, every trip, no matter where you go, there's a comment card, and at the end of it, it'll say, based on this experience, would you travel with us again? That number is always in the high 90s, 90%, 97% of our guests say yes, absolutely. And they do, they come back again and again. So a few things about no matter where you go with us, what we do, we always take care of the logistics. You'll be transferred, you'll be picked up at the airport, you'll be taken to the start of the trip, you'll be taken back to the airport. Regardless of if you book the air through us or not, you certainly don't have to. If you have points, just let us know when you're arriving and when you're departing, and we'll pick you up and certainly be happy to take you back to the airport. Your luggage, you don't have to worry about that. It'll be in your room. It'll be in your next room. A lot of times it'll be on planes without you. You'll see it later, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's easy. You don't have to worry about those little things. And so everything is pretty much taken care of, so you don't have to think about that. And we include all the sightseeing. I know Africa is traditionally an inclusive program, but with us, I don't think there's anything else that you have to pay for. besides air, insurance, and a gratuity to the tour director. Everything else will be included, so you don't have to think about, how much is that going to cost me or how much is this going to cost me, like you may, on other kinds of trips. There's always a tour director on every itinerary, and that's somebody that's trained and knowledgeable and is truly going to teach you about where you are with us. I started out 28 years ago as a tour director, and for every new itinerary, I did 2 complete training tours, which meant I shadowed a guide who had been running that trip for a long time, and I learned about the culture and the history and where to buy tickets and where the motor coach should park and all of those little things. And it's different between what we do and what the other companies do, because a lot of companies, well, in Africa, they don't have tour directors that are employees of the company with them. With us, you do. So it's nice because that's somebody that's going to understand you, somebody that's going to be able to help you out if you have a concern, somebody that's truly going to teach you about the destination. We also have the Safari Jeep guides who are phenomenal, but they are not employed by Tauck. So the Tauck person is truly going to take care of things for you and teach you about where you are. And the hotels that we choose are based on the location and then the quality within the location. So here are some examples on other itineraries that we do. The Grand Bertin in Athens, the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City, the Belmont on the top of Machu Picchu. It changes our guest experience because when they get to stay there, they realize, they can go to the site when nobody else is there. So it truly is a great benefit to staying there. And showing you the destination in the best way that we can. We're always looking for choices of how to do things so you're going to have the best experience. So this is a picture I took in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt last year. We go in after hours. There's nobody else there. If you join us in New Orleans, we have a private performance of the Preservation Hall Band. These are just examples of things that we do. We have private float planes to fly you from Vancouver to Bouchard Gardens, or within Australia and within New Zealand, we have privately chartered flights. So you're not spending days traveling to get to places, waiting in the airport at the gate. You're just on the plane and off the plane, and it's so easy and comfortable. In Africa, we don't crowd the safari jeeps, which is so super nice. These bench seats could easily hold 3 people, but nobody's going to be stuck in the middle. Everybody's going to have a window seat. Or on the island of Capri, the way we take our guests around, we have a 2-night stay at the best hotel on the island, is in a fleet of convertibles, and it just has the right feel to travel around that island. So we have these 4 ways to travel, and our land programs are our world discovery program. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Africa, we have 10 safari programs. And you might say, well, why would I go with Tauck instead of with somebody else? Well, we have the guide with you. We don't crowd the safari jeeps. We have a lot of little hidden surprises, and we take care of all the details. The hotels that we stay at, I'll show you pictures, are really the best. If you want the best view, if you want the best service, they are, something that you'll be taking home for with a memory that you just can't imagine that you got to stay there and right off of your swimming pool, watch the elephants drinking out of the watering hole in the 4 Seasons in the Serengeti. So Africa is an enormous continent. It is huge. And some of you have been to South Africa and Botswana before, and Zambia. We're concentrating on East Africa on this itinerary, Tanzania and Kenya. Why? Because the major abundance of animals concentrates within these 2 places. We visit 2 national parks and 2 conservation areas, and you'll get to see so much. And I'm really envious of people that have never been to Africa, because Africa kind of just grabs you, and it's so amazing. And in Kenya, Tanzania, you have the amazing beauty of just the scenes, the scenery everywhere you turn around, the savannas, the sunsets, the stars that you feel like are so close you can pluck them right out of the sky, birds that you've never seen before, just amazing. Like termite mounds just become like, they look like sculptures, and they should be in an art museum. Every time you turn around, it's exotic and it's fabulous. And then you have the animals, and no 2 days are the same. and you have as long as you want to be watching the animals until somebody tells the driver, okay, we've seen enough, let's move on. So the adventure continues. It's not just one day where we have a tough schedule that we have to meet. No, it's relaxed, and it's really up to you how long you want to stay watching something, and then we move on to whatever we see next. So it's really a really great way to sightsee, especially if you're into taking pictures, and everybody's got, the window view, which is really neat. And yeah, the hotels are great. And we have another reason to go to East Africa is the migration. And I've got some images of that. And Dave chose dates in September, which is optimal viewing for migration. So we'll talk about that in just a moment too. So the itinerary is right here. You would fly into Arusha. Arusha is in Tanzania. It would be the Mount Kilimanjaro airport. So we spend one night there, and then we head out. And these green are internal flights. Why do we have internal flights? Because it's so much more comfortable for you. Other companies, they're going to be driving you from Arusha to the Serengeti. That's about 7 hours in a safari jeep. We call that the African massage, whether you want it or not. So we have all these internal flights, and some days the planes are smaller than others, and you won't be taking your big suitcase with you. We'll give you a duffel bag, and the duffel bag you'll be able to have so much in the duffel bag, you won't believe how much you can put in the duffel bag. But Africa, if you've been there, it's probably the most casual destination you've ever been to. Although you're staying in really nice hotels, you might want to change for dinner, but don't worry, you'll have plenty of space in the duffel bags for everything that you need. So you'll go to the Serengeti, and you'll meet up after Ngorongoro. You'll meet up with your big suitcase after 4 days here. And then I think the last 3 nights you'll be surrendering your big bag again. And, once you do surrender it, you'll say, why did I bring all that stuff anyway? But it's nice to have a change of clothes. Anyway, you will not worry about the duffel bag. It's just a thing I'm telling you about. It's not going to be a hindrance at all to this amazing journey. So we're going to start out at the Grand Malia in Arusha. That's where we start, because you fly into the Mount Kilimanjaro airport. The mountain it's overlooking is Mount Meru, and it's just spectacular. It's got great views. I often mention, if you are flying on KLM from the US, which a lot of flights are through on KLM to Arusha, there's one flight a day, and it connects through Amsterdam. A lot of guests like to stop in Amsterdam overnight there's a Sheraton, there's a Hilton, there's plenty of airport hotels. If you wanted to see Amsterdam, it's really great because Schiphol, the Amsterdam airport, has a connection to the subway right there in the airport. So you can get on the train, go into town, have dinner, go back, sleep, and the next day, I think the flight's usually around 10 or 11 in the morning. So you're not flying for 20 something hours at a time. You are relaxed by the time you get there because you've had that overnight in Amsterdam. It's just a suggestion. It's up to you what you'd like to do, but I wanted to throw it out there because for me, I like to do that. It makes a difference for the way I feel when I arrive. So in East Africa, it's different than South Africa. If you've been to South Africa, you probably know the Jeeps are enclosed. The top is a hard top, and you look out the sides. These are pretty much the opposite. These are enclosed sides, but there's a hole like a huge sunroof in the top of the Jeeps. And whenever we stop, you just stand on the seat and you look out. So it's pretty neat to be able to do that. So we're going to see all kinds of animals. Most of these are pictures I've taken. Lots of birds too. And like I said, September's a great time because the rains usually happen in our springtime, which would be like February until May. And after the rains happen, then there's plenty of water to be found. And as it starts to dry up in June, July, August, the animals have to go further away. And the larger animals are eating the grass, kind of like mowing the grass. So you can see animals further out, smaller animals further out because there's no obstacles in the way. I've seen baobab trees, arusa trees, all kinds of flowers and plants that I've never seen before. We're going to stop at Lake Mayanara, which is known for its elephant population, really amazing elephant population. And we're going to have lunch, and then we're going to head on to the Ngorongoro crater. We're going to stay 2 nights here at the Ngorongoro crater. And to me, this was heaven on earth. I never saw, I don't know, I've traveled all over the world, but to me, this was the most beautiful place I'd ever been. I don't know, very spiritual. This is a picture that I took from my hotel room. So everybody's got a little deck, and this was the sunrise. And
Wow.
it's just amazing. It's 120 square miles and over 20,000 animals that are here in this 120 square mile. It's called the crater. But it's really what is it? Not a crater, it's begins with a C. Oh, I forgot. You know, Dave.
It's a caldera.
Caldera, thank you. Caldera, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the day we're in the crater, we're watching animals and they're amazing, and certainly the big 5 are in there. There's no giraffes in there. Does anybody know why?
They got eaten.
No, because they're very steep, inclines to get down into the crater and to get up, and it's too difficult for them. They would lose their balance with their long necks. So this is the day we're there, we're having an amazing time. And my particular experience, I was there and we were having a great time watching cheetahs. And then the cheetahs got tired of us watching them. They started to go away, and the tour director said, "Hey, who's hungry?" And I thought, oh, wow, I am, but I didn't think about my belly because I was so amazed at what we were watching. And then in this clearing, we passed a lot of other picnic tables with other people, other companies having their little box lunch. We had our own barbecue right here. We had a chef cooking, hot food. We had cold drinks. And we even had our own porta potty, which was a treat. The guys can go back and check the tires, but this was all, 5-star, definitely 5-star, comfortable chairs, everything. It was truly elegance in the Ngorongoro crater. You come back from the crater and you have this rim of pink around the crater. And you're like, what is that? It's thousands of pairs of pink flamingos. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's something you don't anticipate, but it's truly something else. So you're going to see all kinds of animals. And then we're going to fly back to Arusha, and you're going to meet your bags again. This is actually the airport hangar, believe it or not. And sometimes the flight's delayed a little bit for a good reason. But like I said, there are 5 internal flights. They're nice and easy, and it's just us. So then we're going to arrive at the Serengeti. And to me, this again is like heaven on earth, because first of all, the hotels feel like classic Africa. They do. They feel like you're in Africa. And then when you go out here and you go into the infinity pool, you can sit there in the pool and watch the elephants drinking from the watering hole. Pretty neat. We're headed to Amboseli, where we have a really great view of Mount Kilimanjaro. And again, plenty of animals right here on the grounds of the lodge, right there. So the staff will always tell you what you can and what you cannot do. Going out at night by yourself might not be a good idea. But they'll escort you if you need to go out to the lodge or something and come back. So there's plenty of wildlife to see. These are called the McDonald's of Africa. Do you guys know this? Do you know why?
Because of their butts.
Yeah, because well, first of all, because of the M number one and number two, because everybody eats them themselves. Yeah, love, love, love the giraffes, the lions, and the sunsets. To me, you can't really get better than that. It's just Africa leaves you with such an amazing feeling. To me, it's the best gift you can give yourself is a trip to Africa. And I don't know if anybody here is on the fence about going. Your partner wants to go, but you really never had any inclination to go. That was me before I went the first time. I was requested to do a presentation I live in Florida, in Naples at the zoo. And I thought, how difficult can it be? I'll put some slides together. I'll talk to some of our safari guides. And then I realized with 150 RSVPs, we had to cut it off at that a lot of those people knew more about Africa than me. And I needed to go for my own education. I wasn't excited about going. I just knew I needed to do it. So I went, and truly, the day one, blown away by the stars and then the animals and everything and the people. The people are so amazing. You're going to fall in love with them. And yeah, it's just a feeling you get. Now I've been on 2 safaris. I'll go anytime I have the opportunity because every day is different and every place is different. So you're going to stay in Elegance at the Mount Kenya Safari Club. This was founded by the actor William Holden, and adjacent to this is an animal orphanage. So a lot of the animals that are out in the wild need help. They get sick, they break a leg or something. So they help these animals here, and you'll get to experience that. They'll take you around and they'll show you that. More safari drives in the Serengeti, pretty amazing. The photos that you can get every day, like I said, is different, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's an out of body, I think it's an out of body experience, what you get to see. It's just different all the time. And these animals interacting in the wild, they are not putting on a show for anybody. They're just doing their own thing. So the migration is basically when animals are traveling to get more food or water. And really the peak of the migration is between July and October in the northern Serengeti, basically where we are. And so you will probably see, and I think it's 1.5 million wildebeest that travel across Tanzania to go to Kenya. They go from basically the Serengeti to the Masai Mara, and they're looking for food and water. And you'll get to see these. You'll get to see these, and it's something spectacular that you can never imagine. It's one of those experiences that you'll just say, I'm grateful I'm alive and I've been able to do this. We visit a village, a Maasai village, and they have this thing, the person that's able to jump the highest gets the pretty girl. He gets the choose of the girls. You get to go into one of these Maasai huts. Now, this is made out of elephant dung and water. And they have basically no belongings. They have the clothes on their back, and they have usually just a raw hide that they use to sleep on. And there's probably a pot in there for their stew. And their stew is the same. It's porridge every single day, unless they have a special event and they kill an animal, kill a goat, or they're given a goat or something. They have porridge every single day. And they are, these people are so curious about us, especially the kids. They're so curious about us that they're so kind and gracious and giving that I think you'll enjoy it. And for me, the kids, absolutely, I took pictures of these kids, and then they know how to look at your phone or your camera and pull up their picture again. And I saw one of them, she was trying to figure out, she was in a big group. She was trying to figure out which one was her because they don't have a mirror. They don't have a Marshalls with a mirror. They don't know what they look like, basically, so it's such a great awareness for us. And for me, I need to take all the kids, and in the next couple of years, I'm going to do all the kids in my life to Africa, because it's not about, the fancy tennis shoes or, an expensive phone. It's not about the stuff. and I think they'll get it, really. This was our tour guide, and she had this connection with this woman. They don't speak the same language, but they have a connection. And I just thought that that was a beautiful thing. She's always, she's a tour director and she's always there. And this woman loves her, and she loves this woman because they go to see her, and, it's just a neat thing. So yeah, it's the people, the beauty, the scenery, the great hotels, the tour directors, the fact that you don't have to worry about anything. Everything's going to be taken care of for you. We do stay in a tented camp, and if you've been to Africa before, you might know why you stay in a tented camp. For those of you that don't, or you haven't been before, it's because it gives you a three-dimensional experience, really. If you were to stay in a hotel with walls, you're not going to hear the animals. But if you're in a tent, you're hearing everything that's going on outside. You're hearing the lions, and you're hearing the hyenas, and you're hearing all the animals. And it really does just give you that experience that you're just, where am I? I am lucky enough to be in Africa. So take a look at this. This is the Mount Kenya Safari Club. There's the Mara River right there. The Mara Safari Club, the Mara River right there. And there's plenty of animals going down to drink from the river right off of your own deck. You can be watching the animals right here, drinking from there. We include the hot air balloon ride. I don't know of any other operator that does that. That would be probably $500 or $600 a person more if you weren't traveling with us. It's at sunrise, and it's pretty amazing, even if you don't like heights like me. But you can see, I did it. You can see the animals from up above. And I just think it's one of those things, you kind of have to do. It's life-changing. So after the balloon ride, we have a wonderful champagne brunch in the bush, again with our own porta potty. Unfortunately, that porta potty only has 3 sides. I call it a psychological nightmare. Because I guess you're looking out for lions or something, but yeah. And we have several barbecues in the Boma. The Boma is under the stars. So you're going to eat well, definitely, at the Fairmonts, the Four Seasons. You'll be well taken care of for sure, with all these great properties that we stay at. So I'm going to open this up for questions. I first want to thank you all very much for your kind attention, and tell you that Tauck never discounts, never. The price is always the price. But as a gesture of gratitude for you joining us, we'll offer you a complimentary night if you book this trip within the next month. So Dave will have that information. You can go in a day before. You can stay a day longer, but most people probably don't want to stay in Nairobi. Our last night, overnight, is in the Masai Mara at the Fairmont. And then the next day we fly to Nairobi, pretty much just to take the flight. We have a day room there. We have a really great dinner, a day room, and then you fly out. The flights are always late at night from Nairobi. So you don't have to go downtown at all. And the hotel is very, very secure. So that's pretty much it for the presentation. If you have questions, please let me know so I can answer them.
One thing I'd like you to close up with is to tell them about your amazing insurance program. Because everybody, I'm not a big fan of insurance through the vendor, except with Tauck. Tauck has the best insurance, hands down, from any travel provider I have ever seen or worked with. So Jennifer, could you tell them a little bit about it?
Sure. Thanks, Dave. I think it's probably like around $700. I'm not sure, per person. It is cancel for any reason on a land tour. So if you were to sign up for this trip, and maybe, I don't know, a day before, a month before, 2 months before, whenever, before the trip starts, you realize you can't go for some reason. Your daughter's pregnant and she's going to have a baby, or you sprained your ankle or something, you'll get all your money back. You'll get all your money back. You won't get the insurance premium back, but you'll get all your money that you paid for the tour back. And then if you roll over, if you say, you know what, Dave, I have to cancel, but I'd like to do this another time, or you know what, I want to go to Italy. I want to go on one of their trips to Italy. we'll take your insurance premium and we'll apply it to that next trip. So you won't even lose that. If you book air separately, doesn't matter to us. If it's a medical reason and you have to cancel, we will reimburse you for the air, or the insurance will reimburse you for the air. So you're pretty much covered if you take our insurance.
And I've never ever heard of a travel provider covering privately booked air, and for a medically covered reason. Never. So I've sold a number of Tauck trips in the last year, and I continue to be flabbergasted at all of the inclusions. And for example, when you're out, those of you that have gone on safari with me, you remember that, there were tips for this guide and this driver and this person here and there. Tauck covers everything. You only tip one time to that cruise or that travel manager that meets you from day one and stays with you until you're off on the plane.
Right.
So it's the inclusions are amazing. I know that you had Tom at Hot Air Balloon. Um, but there are so many special things that they do, but also the quality of the properties is really, really unbeatable. So that's one of the reasons Tauck has been in my sights for a long time, because it is at the very top of the food chain, which is kind of a pun for Africa Trip. But for sure, when it comes to luxury travel, Tauck is up there with Abercrombie and Kent, but it's also at a fraction of the A&K price. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask your questions.
So this is Barbara Smith. How long is this trip and what's the cost?
So right now we're looking at September 14th of 2026, and it is a 14-day itinerary. Now, 2026 prices will not be out until January, but the 2025 price for this trip was $12,990 per person.
Okay.
And for those of you that did AMA, when we went on the AMA trip, if you think back to what we paid for that for the 12-night, well, 14, it was 14 nights. We were looking, the entry level price was $14,000 for the cabin, plus another $2,200 for the air intra Africa, plus air getting there. And then it went up on the way to the suites. So this is coming in $4,000 to $5,000 per person less than the AMA trip for basically the same amount of time. But I would venture to say a better experience.
This is a to die for experience. It really is. If anybody comes back and says, yeah, I will be flabbergasted. Really. Everybody falls in love, first of all, with Africa, and secondly, with this experience, really.
Gabe, are there going to be solo rates?
Yes, they have solo rates. They do have solo rates.
Somebody asked about vaccinations. It's been funny because it's been on and off. If the guy's going to be there in Kenya when we cross the border, if he's going to check yellow fever cards. Lately, they have been checking the yellow fever. If you're over 65, you can just have a note from a doctor. You either have to have a yellow fever shot or this is what's requested by the government at the moment, or a note from a doctor saying why you didn't get the yellow fever shot. But always check with the CDC before you travel, maybe 6 months before, and find out what the requirements are then. It's not up to us to make you get those. We can't enforce that. It's up to you to figure out what needs to be done, or go to your hospital and ask if there's a travel center. If you all travel, you probably know that there's a travel section, a section at the hospital where you can get travel shots, and they'll tell you what you need.
And on that, we at Oasis, we have full access to Sherpa, which is an excellent online reference that keeps all of the current vaccination requirements for every country. So when it's time to start thinking about those things, and usually I will check, I start at 9 months out to see what's required, because some of, like Judy and Dave, we were on another trip and they realized they needed a series of shots to get up to the standard they needed to be. So they needed about 6 months in order to get all their shots in order. But I will do that at the 9-month out date and let everybody know, okay, this is it. And it even puts in like, where are you coming from? Where are you going to? It tells you entry requirements, like how many blank visa pages you're going to need in your passports, and what vaccinations are recommended versus what are required. And so that's something that I will, of course, work with everybody with when the time comes.
How many actual safari trips do you take? And second question, you mentioned that there's 1.5 million of wildebeest in the migration at this time. What other animals migrate?
Zebras, usually with the wildebeest. Sometimes it depends on, you know, what kind of what the water situation is and where it is, but mostly zebras and wildebeest.
Yeah. And as far as the link that I sent out, there is a day-by-day itinerary that tells exactly what you're doing each day. I will re-put it in and then resend it out to everybody. But you can go day by day. You can look at the pictures of the hotels. It gives you a pretty good description of what happens each day. It'll tell you, you fly down to this place, you do an afternoon safari. So I will make sure that you all have that link
Thank you.
when we're done. But they're pretty good on, you can see on the website, it will give a pretty detailed account of both properties and activities. And one thing I was very happy to see was the picture of the safari vehicles, and knowing that you're only going to be 6 people per vehicle. There's 3 rows and it's 2 people, not 3. We had some of the safaris that we were at Kruger. As much as I really loved our time there, sometimes you had to negotiate who was going to sit in the middle of the vehicles. But if you can see behind me, I put up my picture of when Barbara and Tom were almost eaten by a lion.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't think we have to worry about that in these Tauck vehicles. But it
Are
wasn't.
there any, oh, sorry. Are there any pre or post programs?
There is not a pre or because this is a very laid out program. There, day by day, they don't do pre or post. It's already included. But I would recommend, for example, coming in the day early. The fact that Jennifer is going to give everybody a free day to just arrive and enjoy the beautiful property. The Arusha Lodge is gorgeous. So for people who would like me to help them plan a pre or post, we can do that individually. Because if you're coming a long way, if you want to go down to Cape Town, if you want to go and see some things in South Africa, if you want to bridge this, we can do that for you.
Also, I have suggestions on Arusha if you do go in a day early and you want to see something. So, and you usually just arrange it there unless there's a big group. So I send that to you, Dave.
Okay. Any other questions?
There's a couple more questions on your chat.
I saw that. Okay, the photography. When we're out driving and you say, oh, I think I see something, you just tell the driver and he stops. So we sit there as long as you'd like. If you think it's not interesting, if everybody in the Jeep thinks it's not interesting, then we keep on going. So you have that chance to take as many pictures as you'd like to, and you're not crowded. Like Dave said, nobody's in the middle seat. So you can get really great photos. We don't recommend that you go outside the Jeep and start following the animals. But we are in East Africa. The difference between East Africa and South Africa is you're in mostly reserves, private reserves in South Africa. In East Africa, we're in conservation areas and national parks where there is a specific road and we stay on the road. So hopefully that answered your question about the photography. I got great pictures, I thought. And you will too. Even with my phone. So the other question was about
Airplanes.
airplanes. Yeah, we've used the same planes over and over. I can tell you what they are. They're planes that they use. I don't know if they're Kenya Air or what they are, but they're the real planes. We haven't had it. We don't, we use them because they are solid and we feel that they're safe. We haven't had any issues. We don't expect to have any issues. You never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis. I mean, something could happen, but we don't anticipate that at all. We use a reputable company to fly us from place to place.
And I just Googled Africa, Tauck, accidents, and I'm not finding anything.
No, 28 years, I haven't heard of one.
Let's see. Now, with that said, that something can always happen. I mean, there are people who don't listen and they go places they shouldn't go. For example, when we were in Zimbabwe the last time, a German tourist had been killed just the week before because he went to a place where he was told not to go. He went by himself and he encountered an elephant, and the elephant, goodbye, German tourist. So it's very important to always listen to what the guides tell you. I remember a certain French husband living in this house would always be like, why does someone have to walk me in the morning? Well, because there are animals outside, and we called, and that morning there had been a whole pride of lions on the property. So yeah, so you have to do what you're told to do.
Yeah.
At all times. And
Yeah.
but having been to Africa on 4 different occasions now on safari, never had any incidents, don't want to have any incidents. And that's one of the reasons also why I chose Tauck as one of the world's leading luxury providers. I expect them to have a very high standard, which we will hold them to.
Mhm.
So I'm looking, vaccinations. Any other questions? No, doesn't. Well, let me go down. I'm not seeing. I got some people that are hidden down here. Jocelyn and Liz and John. Oh, I see Barb. Hi, Barb. And I guess Barbara, Larry will not be taking a balloon ride if we go. I see the prairies, Cat Neva and Marty. I don't see any hands down here. Dave and Judy. And it's okay. And
I can tell you about the overall group size is a max of 30 guests. So 5 Jeeps with 6 people in each one. We've never had a serious accident in Africa. We've never had a serious accident. We have a great crisis management team too. So if we had anything go wrong, like, an ash cloud or, I don't know, we have high water on the Danube or something, we have people that, are on it right away and want to preserve your experience and the integrity of the trip or do the right thing for you. That's how it is for us. Our reputation is number 1. Always do the right thing, take care of our guests.
Yeah.
So
which is very important for all of us and me in particular. And I, having been in the industry, gosh, 35 years, I mean, Tauck has always been what for me was at the very top of the food chain. And to be honest, I always thought, oh, I don't think I could ever go on a Tauck trip. It felt unattainable. But now I'm a grown up.
yeah.
I can do a Tauck trip, and I'm very, very, very much looking forward to this experience with you all. because there were some small things on our previous trips which were not bad, but I just thought, oh, this could be a little better. And you all address all of those things. And so I'm very excited about doing this with you all. So if there's no further questions, then I have everybody that is here. I have you in my system, and I'm going to send out a sign-up sheet. There is, even though we don't know the exact price for 2026, I don't expect it to go up more than, I always tell people, if you're looking at the following year, factor a 10% increase. Most of the time the increase is around 5, but if you think 10 and it winds up being 5% over the previous year, then everybody's happy. But we already have the date set aside for us. We can already deposit. We have to double check with the group supervisor, but we believe the deposit is $900 per person. Final payments, Jennifer, are 90 days out or 120?
I think it's 120 now. It's just
I think
changed.
so too. I think so too. And again, you guys, the insurance that Tauck offers, you know how I am about insurance, and I always recommend private insurance. Tauck's is very, very reasonable. It's very well priced, and it has excellent coverage. So that's something I could highly recommend. And go to tauck.com and you can read the coverage there. And even if you have a supplemental insurance, it's fine, but the Tauck insurance is quite good. I also like, and I just want to make sure that this is also something we're not used to, because I know a lot of you like to book your air independently, and we're so used to being told, okay, we'll give you free transfers. And then you find out, okay, but the transfers are only if you arrive on the package date. And if you want to arrive early to get your free transfer, you have to buy a extra night hotel through the company, and it's always at a very high rate. But with Tauck, regardless of when you arrive, when you leave, they will include those transfers. I like that very much, and I like the fact that the tipping is not like, here one, here one, here one. They take care of all of the tips for the drivers and the individual smaller vendors that we would come across during the trip. We just have that one. And what is the recommended tip for your tour manager?
$12 per guest per day.
That's nothing. Okay. 12 per person per day. So, I mean, that's it. That's the only extra cost. And I do also like that. What about meals and drinks and things like that during the programs? Can you talk a little bit about those?
So there will be, we like to offer a la carte on all of our itineraries, but some places it's more, it goes more towards a barbecue. Like a couple of the evenings we'll have barbecues outside under the stars, excuse me, usually with like Maasai entertainment or something. So it's a very festive thing, and there will be lots of choices. There will be some meals that are a la carte. But Africa does do a lot of barbecues. But
Yeah,
if you're eating at the Four Seasons or at the Fairmont, you will be eating well. You really will. Alcoholic drinks are not typically included. The welcome and the farewell for sure, but during the course of the trip, not typically included.
right. So when you're in the hotel, if you want to have some cocktails, then that's going to be an extra cost.
Yeah.
So, how about wine and beer during the actual dinners? That included?
Yeah, I don't think so in Africa.
Okay. All right. I will check into that as well. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. And I know that, well, I'm pretty sure that we are going to fill at least one group and maybe even two. So I will speak with the group department about that second departure.
Excited.
Dave, would that be the same month? The second
Yeah,
departure?
yes, because if I go, I'm going to fill the first group first. That's the September 14th departure. That would mean anybody that signs up, if you sign up, what was it in the next however many days?
Month.
30.
the next 30 days, you get a free night. So if I fill that first group very, very quickly, and there's at least 12 people to do the second group, then I will have a second group departure date that would be at the end. But if I'm gonna fly down there and extend to be with the second group, there has to at least be a minimum of 12 people in the second group before I can offer it. So we're definitely targeting September 14th as the first departure to all go together. Now, with that said, some of you might be sitting there and thinking, oh, I think one of my kids is getting married. Blah, 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 blah. We can arrange for you to go. They have lots and lots of departures. We can arrange for you to go on departures that fit your schedule as well. But for our going together, being together, escorted with me and Terry group, that'll be September 14th of 2026. So, and hopefully, as always, I get to see some of you 2 or 3 times in the year, because I know some of you are signing up for Japan in March, and some people want to do both, and some people want to do the sailing ship. And so, y'all just love to travel, and that's, that's what I love about you. So, any other questions?
This was very good. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you all.
It has been a pleasure to see all of you, and I will see some of you in person very soon. Hi, Linda. See you in a couple weeks. And so good night, everybody.